But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the 81 square meters of the best volleyball content on the internet. It is Sunday, October 9th, and we have just wrapped up what was an incredible round 2 of the Women's Volleyball World Championships. My name is Everett Delorme, joined as always our friendly neighbors to the south, Mr. Rob St. Clair from Chicago. Rob, glad to see you back in one piece. I know you had to rush back all the way from Detroit to be here tonight. That's why we're a little later than we had expected, but good to see you. Welcome. Glad you're home. And wow, what was that? Ever a great round 2. We said after round 1 that it was a little. This is when the tournament starts, and that's exactly what it was.
Sure enough, yeah, we're both back in our native setups. Everett's no longer in the woods in the middle of nowhere, so all is right with the world, and we're down to 8 teams left, Everett, at the Women's World Championship, and this was an absolutely ridiculous week. I think we should just jump right into the bracket. How about it?
Absolutely. Yep.
Boom.
This is what we've got left at the Women's World Championships, and Rob, credit to us. I think we went a perfect 8 for 8. Like we predicted exactly what this bracket was going to be, pretty much.
I predicted exactly what this bracket was going to be. You may or may not have included your very own Canadian girls in this bracket, which I respect.
Hey, you know what?
And while
we were one set off. We were one set off. It was close. And actually, you know what? I'm going to blame your team for that, because if your team had gotten taken care of business against Poland and not be 3-0'd by them, then yeah, that 3-donging to Poland is what killed our playoff hopes.
There may have been a 3-donging involved. Yes, we'll certainly get into that, and we'll get into the Canadian women as well, because they had an outstanding tournament. But what we have here in front of us is the bracket. So as we previewed before the tournament even started, every single bracket match up until the medal matches from here on out will be rematches. There'll be rematches of either round 1 pools or round 2 pools. And the matchups are Italy versus China, Brazil versus Japan, Serbia versus Poland, and the United States versus Turkey. All 4 of those matchups we have already seen before. And no matter what happens, we will have already seen both semifinals before in this tournament. So there's a lot to get to with that. We'll get to all the matches from the second phase. We'll get to all the matches that will, like the first matches of each of these quarterfinal matchups. But this is it. We're down to 8 teams, and I think it's, with only an exception or 2, it's kind of the 8 teams that we expected to be here at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, pretty much. This is it. I mean, even going into round 2, we had called both China and Japan over Belgium, even though Belgium already had 4 wins heading into round 2. And yeah, this is pretty much to be expected. Maybe Poland, if you're looking at the world rankings, Poland coming in above the Dominican Republic is maybe a slight upset. But yeah, this is exactly what was to be expected. I mean, we even talked about at the beginning of this tournament how this could be kind of a breakout tournament for Polish women's volleyball, and that's kind of what it's been. Other than a few hiccups here and there, and good to see them in the quarterfinals. Would have liked to see my Canadian girls, of course, but all the credit goes to Poland. But yeah, this is exactly who we expected it to be. You've got the top 4 seeds in a different quarterfinal. You're not going to have two of the best teams going at each other, maybe with Italy and China, but I don't think China's team is necessarily where their world ranking is at, given to what they have right now. But I mean, we told you guys at the beginning of this tournament, book it for Italy, Brazil, Serbia, USA in the semifinals. And let's be honest, barring an upset, that's probably what it's going to be.
The bracket certainly does shape up that way, and there were definitely some upsets along the way, but sure enough, the bracket ends up kind of being chalk. But I don't want to talk about how predictable the bracket was, because this week of Phase 2 pool play was anything but predictable and boring. It was electric, and I want to start up talking about Group E, because I think this is the slightly easier pool to talk about. Really, most of the chaos was going on in Group F, and we'll get to that. But here are the final standings of Group E. There's a pretty clear separation between that 4th team in China and that 5th team in Belgium that where a line could pretty easily be drawn. Just like we predicted, Everett, Belgium, who had a pretty good start in the tournament at 4-1, go an unfortunate 1-3 this week against much more difficult competition. They and the hosts, the Netherlands, failed to make it out, and it is Italy, Brazil, Japan, and China in that order, just like we expected at 8-1, 8-1, 7-2, 7-2. Clearly, the cream rising to the top of this pool.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in both pools, E and F, you're seeing a lot of one pool was pretty tough, and the other pool, like it was all about matchups, right?
Yeah.
And Belgium did so well against the teams that they were matching up against in their original pool. But when you're up against the teams of like Italy and Brazil, Japan, and China, that's going to be tough. Like just the style matchups against the Asian teams like Japan and China just doesn't work well for Belgium, considering that they're a one-show pony in Britt Herbots, right? They have the ability to weather that storm and have really good ball control so that they're able to push through that. And that's exactly what we saw.
Right. So let me put up the full results from that group as I swim through the FIVB website. Just one second. There we go. And there we go. Hopefully everybody can see that now. So going kind of day by day, we'll jump into some of these results in a lot more detail. We have Japan beating Belgium, just like Everett said, a doable matchup for them to shut down really the one threatening player on the Belgian side. We have the crazy 5-setter between Italy and Brazil, which I definitely want to dig into more. We're not really even going to address Argentina and Puerto Rico all that much because all of their matches went exactly as expected. There's really nothing to see there. Italy beat Japan in 4 pretty convincingly, especially those last 2 sets, 25-14, 25-15. China had a nice 5-setter against the Netherlands. Good fight from the Netherlands in a match that they kind of had to win. Couldn't get them done the 5th, and that basically ended their tournament, especially considering how hard they got smacked by Brazil the following day. And then Italy did beat China, so we're going to see that match again very, very shortly, but Italy with a clean sweep over China. That'll give them good vibes going into the quarterfinals. Brazil beat Belgium, dropped the first set, but was easily in control the rest of the way. And then, yeah, China beating Belgium, Japan beating the Netherlands. That was earlier today, and those were both sweeps, both pretty much expected to wrap things up. So that is all the really meaningful results from Pool E, and now we can jump into some of them in a little more detail.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's really only like one match to look at here, and it's the probable preview of the semifinals: Italy versus Brazil, back at the first day of the round, and Brazil coming out with that one, and they looked good.
They looked great. I was really impressed. Gabi Guimaraes 30 points on 30 for 66 attacking. Jeez, yeah, 30 for 66, only 7 errors. What's that like quick efficiency math? It's excellent. It's about 400.
It's excellent. Yeah,
it's terrific. She was so good. It was so much fun to see her and Paula Egonu go at one another, as obviously they're about to be teammates in Vakif Bank and Club. They've done battle before, even this year in the club game, and it was great to see those two go at it. Egonu's numbers: 37 points total, led the match by far. 33 for 72 attacking, 72 attempts. It's absolutely crazy. 12 errors, 3 stuff blocks, and an ace. But at the end of the day, what stuck out to me, Everett, was, I mean, we talk about this with teams all the time that Paula Egonu is on. In key moments, you expect the ball to go to her. And oftentimes when it does, she scores and she can single-handedly win you a tournament or win you a championship like that. But there were a couple times late when Alessia Oro, for better or for worse, decided not to go to Paula Egonu on every single ball, which I respect. And the players that were not named Egonu that she went to down the stretch didn't quite deliver for her. Elena Pietrini with 2 really late bad swings, both getting stuff blocked, one of them to lose the match in the 5th set. And that was kind of the difference. I think the confidence level of Brazil's supporting cast was a little bit higher than Italy's.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to make the argument that, hey, Pietrini's not getting that much volume, but she's still getting 45 sets throughout the match, right?
It's a lot.
And 10,
Yeah.
10 for 22 with 9 errors for Pietrini is not a fantastic stat line. So at the end of the day, like maybe that's Alessia Oro being like, hey, we need you to get going here. So I'm gonna give you some. But ultimately, like you said, how many attempts was it for Agonu? 72 overall.
72.
You have to spread it out a little bit.
I mean, Pietrini with 45. I thought they did a good job of getting the pipe involved on the Italian side, so that's actually a decent number of Pietrini's attempts. But at the end of the day, just way too many continues and way too many errors. I mean, 10 kills, 9 errors is just not a good spread. And they couldn't really find anything out of the second outside hitter either. Caterina Bassetti benched early after going 5 for 9 with 2 errors. Miriam Silla came in. What did she do? 5 for 17. So not that much like terminal ability on the left pin for Italy, and then every out of system ball, the right move was obviously chuck it to Paola Egonu.
Yeah, it just seemed like everyone but Agonu wasn't producing on this day. Like even down the middle, Danesi was a 7 for 17, right? 41%. But then look at Ciccarella, who was even worse. She was 4 for 14 with 4 errors. So like even like down the middle, they weren't efficient. They weren't efficient on the left side. There was only one player who was really getting it done on this day, and that was Agonu. And obviously Brazil takes advantage. But to be honest, I don't know if that's a advantage Brazil. And I've said this before, it's so hard to beat the same team twice in one tournament.
Yes,
and
it is.
Right, especially with the way that Italy has played this game, you know that all other 5 players on that team, okay, maybe not Alessia Oro, and maybe not the libero, but everyone else on that team is kind of like hanging their heads and being like, we let the team down on this one.
But that's okay. I think their mindset going into the rematch, if they do get there, which we'll talk about, is we know that we have room to be better the next time we see this team again. I think that's
and have a little bit of chip on their shoulder as well too, to be like, it's not only like we know that we can be better, but we will be better.
We will be better.
I'm excited to see what comes back, and I hope that Brazil is up to the task, because man, Italy and Brazil at their best, that sounds like a sick matchup to watch.
Yeah, if you're an Italian fan, don't hang your head. I mean, comment in the chat and keep getting active in the YouTube live chat. It's popping off right now, which is great. Too many errors for Egonu. We see this all the time. 12 errors. I mean, double digits in 5 sets is not great, but it's actually not. It's far from the worst match we've ever seen her play. And Italy was in that match because Egonu was, I thought, pretty brilliant a lot of the time. I agree with you totally, Everett. Every other player on that team, especially the others that are supposed to score some number of points, all of them, both middles, both outside hitters, can be better. And I think they will be better in the rematch. But we do have to give Brazil a ton of credit. I thought Ana Carolina was pretty good with 7 blocks. The blocking game for Brazil against players that weren't Egonu was really impressive. I thought they did an awesome job shutting down both outsides and both middle attackers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brazil just in both of these potential, like in both of the top 4 teams, you have 2 teams that run off of a big right side with Italy and Serbia, and that you have 2 teams that maybe take a bit more of a team approach. Brazil, obviously, you are relying offensively off of Gabi a lot, but the rest of their team works really, really well together, and that's ultimately what helped them through this one.
Yeah, we can talk about the rematch later on, but I'm not sure if Brazil can repeat that feat. I think Italy didn't play their best game. Brazil as a team played an outstanding game, a really, really good coaching performance for sure, but they're just missing that second or third real scoring option, attacking wise. I mean, who's second best in kills on the Brazilian side? Tainara with 10. I didn't think she was all that good. Yeah, 10 for 34 with 8 errors. They're still missing that sort of an opposite. I mean, you're never going to get someone like Paola Egonu, but they definitely are missing a little bit of opposite scoring presence, and they were able to get it done this time. I'm not sure I would pick them to repeat that, because I think Italy really has some distance to go to get to their ceiling in that matchup.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
All right, let's talk about a couple other matches that happened in Group E. I mean, we talked about Italy. Italy was perfect elsewhere this week, other than the 5-set loss to Brazil. They beat Japan. They beat the rest of the teams they were supposed to beat. China 3-2 Netherlands. I don't think we really need to talk about that, but I do kind of want to talk about Italy versus China, because we're going to see that matchup again. And this was later. What day was this? This was yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
So. Yeah, it was
Saturday. Paola Egonu in a 3-set win. 27 points, 24 for 41, only 5 errors. That's about 50% efficiency plus a block and 2 aces. That's the Egonu I think we're kind of used to seeing. Anna Denesi, great again, 12 points, 8 for 12, no errors attacking, and 4 stuff blocks. She's quickly rising up my personal world middle blocker ranks.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I just don't see China putting any type of pressure on Italy to really put them out of their way. Like they don't have a huge block to be able to slow down Egonu. And I think it's going to be a really good like moral boost for the rest of the team heading into the semifinals. Like I don't really see China putting any type of fight up against Italy. They just don't have, like, even if you look at this sets, like Wang was their top scorer with 11, and that's behind Denesi with 12 and Egonu with 27. They just, admittedly, I haven't watched China a whole bunch this tournament, but that's mostly because I just haven't been. I think they're a solid team all around, but they just don't have anyone that's going to put any of these players, in any type of stress, I think.
Yeah, they need the Zhu Ting sort of scoring character, which they just don't have right now. I mean, Li Yingying has been their best player this tournament. She had 8 points only, 7 for 22 attacking with 5 errors. Like, Italy completely put her in a phone booth, and China just didn't have the scorers or the ability to put pressure in more situations to slow down Italy at all. And even though that first set was 26-24, I mean, 25-16, 25-20, I know Italy is licking their chops for this rematch in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past China to maybe take a set from Italy. I do think that they're going to put a better match in the quarterfinals than they did in the pool play. There's just so much more riding on the quarterfinals. You get to prepare for it. You get a little bit of rest leading up to it. And I think that, especially with the way Italy plays, that they are susceptible sometimes to losing a set.
Sure. Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a 3-1 in this one for Italy.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent pick. I do think that I really like the tournament that Alessia Oro's having. I mean, it's impossible to kind of quantify a setter performance other than like full team offensive efficiency, but I really like her. Well, her connection with middles has always been outstanding. I love watching her set Denesi. I like how she's getting pipe involved. I like her just level of disguise and kind of keeping opposing blockers on their edges or on the edges of their toes. She's got a couple great like highlight reel one-handed sets this tournament, and I think she's getting the outside involved just the right amount. And I think if they produce for her the way that I think everyone in Italy kind of expects, we will definitely see Italy against Brazil again in the semis, and maybe a chance for an Italian repeat on both the men's and the women's sides in the finals.
I mean, I think right now Italy's my favorite to win this tournament, just based on the way they've played in the ensemble they have. And you're absolutely right. I've definitely thought and continuously watching Italy play, I'm like, man, they're giving so much volume to Egonu. But then you look at the stats, and she's doing a pretty good job at spreading things around. And like just like we talked about in that game against Brazil, it was really more so the hitters not producing as opposed to not giving the chance and giving just so much volume to Egonu. Now, I would want to go back and and that's something I'm definitely going to watch in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, just the quality of balls that they're getting.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
Is it due to the setting that they're not, like, is it just not there for them? Like, is she setting like, why is that? Or is it just the hitters who weren't executing? So, maybe I'll have to go back and check that out a little bit and look forward a little bit more. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Oro continues to solidify herself as one of the top setters in the women's game without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that she's kind of taken that role by the reins over Ophelia Malinov. I think Oro's the better player. Want to talk about Japan for a little bit? There's not really that much to say because they lost to Italy like everyone expected, and then they beat everyone else they were supposed to beat. I mean, the Belgium win was a good one, just playing the right matchup. We kind of thought they were going to beat the Netherlands. We thought they were going to beat who's the last team they played? They beat the Netherlands. They beat Puerto Rico, no problem. So not that much to say about Japan. They've had a very good tournament. I mean, 7-2 is a great number. I just don't really see them repeating that magic of beating Brazil and pools in the rematch in the round of 8.
No, I really don't see it either. And I mean, who are they playing? They're playing the USA. Like, it doesn't look good on them. No, wait.
Japan plays Brazil again.
They're playing Brazil again. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Japan beat Brazil in pool play, which was a great win. I don't see it happening again, though, personally.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think Japan is a really good team. Like, they're very steady. they're probably the most consistent, and probably not. They're definitely the most consistent team in volleyball, right? You know what you're going to get from them. They're always going to play tough defense. They're going to pass well. They're going to serve tough, and that they're pretty good all around. But they just don't have that power to play with the big guns.
Yeah, they get Serena Koga back from early injury. That definitely helps, but I still don't see the firepower to keep up with even a team like Brazil, who I think is built kind of similarly, but bigger and stronger at every individual position. I don't see them pulling it off again in that matchup, but
No.
they did what they were supposed to do this week. Nobody expected them to beat Italy. We did kind of expect them to beat Belgium and the Netherlands, and they did. And speaking of Belgium and the Netherlands, both of them go 1-3 this week. I mean, I somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, I feel bad for Britt Herbots. Her shoulder is probably about to fall off. I mean, yeah, that's just kind of the nature of the beast if you're going to play that style. I mean, she had that 41-point banger against the Netherlands, which we talked about, 30 against Japan, 28 against Italy, 28 against Argentina, 25, 21 points. Is right now in the lead for the whole tournament in scoring, one of only 2 players to get to 200 points in 9 matches, which is insane. But the efficiency numbers aren't nearly as good, which unfortunately this website won't let me pull up the whole tournament efficiency stats. But we kind of know what Belgium's game plan has been. We talked about them a lot last week. It was the same thing this week. And once you get to this week where you're just playing against good teams day in and day out, they're going to know the matchup and they're going to execute against it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just once again, the style it doesn't match up against pretty much anyone from that pool other than, what was it, Argentina or Puerto Rico? Can't really remember. It doesn't really matter. But
I think it was Argentina. It doesn't matter. They did beat Argentina 3-0.
Exactly. So having to play Brazil and Japan and China, it just doesn't work out for them. And those are teams that are going to make you swing a lot. And Britt Herbots, just at the end of the day, she's not superhuman. She can't do it all.
Not quite. She's one of the best outside hitters in the world. We need more than one scorer on a volleyball team to go deep in a tournament like this.
Absolutely.
So I think we kind of know this is pretty predictable. Excuse me. We kind of saw this coming, and sure enough, that top corner of the bracket being played in the Netherlands is Italy versus China rematch and Brazil versus Japan rematch. So we'll talk a little bit more about the bracket at the end of the show, but I think that's about it for Group E. Everett, do you agree? Can we go to Pool F?
Let's move on to Pool F.
Here,
things were way more.
Yes, they were. What a crazy pool this was. I mean, we kind of saw it coming. Every team in this group was going to be really competitive. No pushover teams like Puerto Rico and Argentina. Even Germany grabbed a huge key upset of beating Thailand to make things kind of interesting and taking Poland to 5 yesterday. But Germany does finish in 8th. Terrible week for Thailand, going 0-4. To finish in 7th. The Dominican Republic with not a great week. Let's see, did they even win a match? Yes, they won 1. They beat Germany, but they lost to Canada. Great 5-setter, which we'll talk about in a second. Dominican Republic finishes in 6th. Canada comes up just barely short at 5-4 in 5th. And the teams moving on. Serbia undefeated, looking like giants right now, 9-0 in 1st. The United States 7-2 in 2nd. Turkey is 6-3 in 3rd, and Poland 6-3. They will continue their tournament playing at home. They get out in 4th. A lot to get to with this pool for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it last week that this pool was going to be a banger, and that, like we said, even Germany can get out there and steal some games. That's exactly what they did. And I mean, they made a difference in this pool, because if Poland had taken that game in 3 or 4, they'd be sitting in 3rd place playing the United States instead of sitting in 4th and playing against Serbia. So there's, like Germany was there to make their mark. And, I personally wish they had done it a little bit more. I know early on in the first set that they were leading against Turkey, and I was very hopeful for that. Would have looked good, but, kudos to them. Thailand, we talk about matchups. Playing in that round 1 against all of those big banger teams, it really worked out in Thailand's favor, right? Because that's the type of game that they thrive against. That's the type of game they thrive in. But then when you play, obviously Serbia and USA are just far out of the league, but both Canada and Germany play a bit more of a consistent and a bit more of a grinder style. Like personally, I thought that beating Thailand, the way to open up round 2 like that was one of our best games of the tournament. It just kind of set the tone for us, and it put us in a dangerous mindset, and I loved watching it. It was great. And then, as you said, the Dominican Republic, it just seemed like they lost a bit of steam as the tournament went on.
Yeah, we've said it many times throughout the tournament. This is a marathon and not a sprint. And there were a couple teams, Thailand and Dominican Republic in particular, that I thought really started to run out of gas. So here, let's go through scan through the results really quick before we break a couple more of them down. Yeah, starting off on Tuesday with Canada beating Thailand first thing in the morning. That was a statement game and really made things interesting. United States beat Dominican Republic with pretty little resistance. Turkey beat Germany, no problem. Serbia beat Poland, no problem. Next day, Germany beating Thailand was huge. That put just huge risk on Thailand's chances to advance, and they were never quite able to recover from
killed
that.
it right there, right?
Yeah,
unless they were going to turn around and beat USA and Serbia,
which they were not going to do. So yeah, that it wasn't mathematically true, but it kind of felt like their tournament was dead at that point. Turkey beat Canada. Really good match. I wish that Canada had been able to grab one of those 2 sets there. You see sets 2 and 3, 26-24, 28-26. Grab one of those in extra points, but it wasn't quite to be. Serbia handled Dominican Republic, and then a very odd head scratcher. My beloved United States getting 3-donged, as we mentioned earlier in the show, by Poland. We'll break that one down just a little bit. That one kind of came out of nowhere. Really helped Poland advance for sure. But yeah, Serbia beating Thailand, no problem. United States versus Turkey, 3-1 that we won. We'll get into that one. That wasn't a particularly good match on either side. Dominican Republic beat Germany, whatever.
Sloppy.
Yeah, and then Poland and Canada, that's a match we'll certainly talk about. Crazy match, 15-5 though in the 5th. And then last but not least, yesterday, we barely get by Thailand in 5. Serbia handles Turkey relatively easily. Canada ends their tournament with an incredible win over the Norsika rivals. And then Poland barely survives against Germany to book their ticket to the next round. So that's Group F. Let's break it down a little bit more.
Yeah, which one of these matches do you want to start with here, Rob? Do we want to...
Let's talk about. Let's see.
Or do we want to do this?
Let's talk about USA Poland. I kind of want to talk about USA Poland. We'll go through a little bit, and we'll save because we got 2 quarterfinal rematches. Because Serbia just beat Poland 3-0. They're about to play again. USA beat Turkey at 3-1. They're about to play again. We'll save those for kind of the end. I want to start with kind of the head scratcher that was USA getting smoked by Poland 3-0. Magdalena Stisiak was awesome, was one takeaway that I had. 16 for 32, 4 errors is a great match, 3 stuff blocks. And the United States is struggling on offense right now, dude. Not only is Jordan Poulter clearly not 100%, but we just can't find sources of scoring points. I mean, our leading scorer was Annie Drews with 12 for 32 with 7 errors. Just not efficient. And then both outside hitters, I mean, Kelsey Robinson, 5 for 22 with 4 errors. That's not good at all. Ali Franti, 2 for 13 with 3 errors. Negative efficiency. I mean, our wings right now are just not what they were last year in the Olympic run.
I mean, look, I've been saying it since the preview of VNL this year that I really don't know who you give the ball to in clutch situations. Before, you had Jordan Larson, right? You had the governor. She was the heart and soul of that team, and then you knew in clutch situations we can just chuck it up and she's going to do something with it. Even if she wasn't technically the best, even if she wasn't physically the best, she was at the end of her career. She just had that mentality. There's no one on Team USA that I look and see that has that full-on give me that mentality. There was one player, but that's Catherine Plummer, and I mean that mentality was maybe a little misplaced and misguided at times, or maybe it just wasn't there. It wasn't there fully. So I look at this Team USA as being the best team in the world, right? As a team, how they work together, how they conduct themselves, how they spread the offense, how they block, how they play defense, how they serve, all of these things, they're the best team. But they're just missing that key component, and it's just really just the only solid positions they have in their team are down the middle, the setter position, even though Poulter is injured right now, and the libero. All of their outsides are kind of a bit of a revolving door, and it kind of shows different looks. And I would just like to see them go with someone, but no one has really gone out and grabbed that spot.
Yeah, we talk about teams a lot that are true, great, cohesive teams, like I think the United States is, like you said, and that being the team being greater than the sum of its individual parts. Now, the thing for the United States is a couple of those individual parts have just got to be a little bit better or a little bit more complete or a little bit more able to kind of stand on their own. We don't have an attacker that I think anybody else is really afraid of right now. Like there was a point in the chat, like Annie Drew's attacks just get easy block touches for the opponent to transition. I agree. She doesn't hit the ball that high. She doesn't hit it with a crazy amount of range. She hits the ball hard, which is great, but with a good block up in front of her, she's either getting housed or the ball's getting slowed down. Same thing with the outside hitters. Like nobody really is afraid of Kelsey Robinson or Ali Franti right now. They understand the scouting report against those players, and they'll tag some sidelines ever so often. They're both pretty good out of the pipe, but in high ball situations, there's just nobody on the United States team that I love or I feel like inspires that much confidence to kill you a ball when you need it in an out of system situation. I think a lot of the other teams in this tournament that are medal contenders do kind of have that player, whether it's an opposite or an outside, and I just don't really think we have it right now. Even Poland, Magdalena Stasiak is that player for them.
Absolutely, dude.
She
even
is.
Canada, right? Like
Yeah,
with
Kara Van
Alexa
Rijk
Gray and
Alexa
Kira Van
Gray.
Rijk, like we have two players out there that are looking at it. I mean, hey, I said at the beginning of this tournament, Alexa Gray actually has American citizenship, right? She went to BYU, she went to USAV, like high performance camps and tryouts, and she straight up asked Karch, "Do you see me having a spot and a role on this team?" And Karch said no, and that's when she decided to come back and play for Canada, where she grew up and lived and had done junior stuff and stuff in the past. But do you think at this point Karch is not looking over at Alexa Gray leading Canada and having, like there's no American outside who's leading like a top 5 scorer multiple years in the Italian league, right? There's no American outside that's leading any teams in the Champions League. Like you guys have so much good talent, but no one is that like 85 or higher in a videos game score.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, and I mean, I'm not sure that Karch is really worried about that right now because his team's still playing and Alexa Gray's team is not still playing.
Yeah, okay,
just
okay.
so you know. But I sure could we use a banger of a score somewhere? Yes. I mean, I miss Jordan Thompson right now. I definitely miss Jordan Larson right now. I even miss like Michelle Barch Hackley. I think would be a great fit on this team. Just we don't really have that player right now, and somebody's either going to have an amazing match, or we're going to have to be incredibly consistently in system to win a medal at this tournament. And that means just giving a bunch of balls to Haley Washington, Chaco Bogu, who have both been awesome. And there's a question in the chat, Poulter or Carlini, who's better? Well, the answer is Poulter. But
yeah.
Jordan Poulter is not 100% healthy, and I think a lot of the complaints from the United States fan base this last week and watching these matches, because lost to Poland, really disappointing, win over Turkey, not convincing. It was not a clean volleyball match at all. We'll talk about it in a minute, and going down 0-2 to Thailand before having to rescue it. I think, well, Jordan Poulter is not healthy. That's very clear. She got hurt in round 1 pools. I don't know exactly what it is, but she's working her way through it. She does not look mobile enough. She is not 100%. People are a little bit upset with Karch not pulling the trigger and going to Carlini full time. I'm not convinced one way or the other, but it's definitely something to watch. It's kind of like the Micah Christensen analog in the men's tournament when he wasn't healthy. What do we do at the setter position? But man, I don't know.
To me, I think
Courtney makes a difference. I don't know if that's fair. I mean, there's a lot of people just like searching for different places on this roster for answers, and I don't really see it. It's what we kind of saw going into the tournament. We don't have that one player right now.
I kind of think that you want to go with Carlini at this point, just because I don't like Poulter's longevity throughout this tournament. Like I know there's only 2 more games, but it just doesn't seem to do it for me. Like, why not give the ball to Carlini? Like, I think you've really reached Poulter's max. And let's be honest, like the next 2 games or the next 3 potential games are the biggest ones against the best teams. And can Poulter get it done at that level right now? I'm not really sure. So why not just give the ball to Carlini and let her run with it and let Poulter come off the bench in that way in limited use? I think if that's the case and she can come off the bench And hey, yeah, she can set in a fourth set or something like that because her body's feeling a little bit better because she hasn't been used, a little bit of load management. Like, I think that's best case scenario right now for them. And you just kind of got to run with Carlini and see what she can do.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the 6-2 a lot this tournament for the United States, bringing in Danielle Coutinho and Lauren Carlini. And normally there would be no reason to do that because Annie Drews is a good back row attacker and Jordan Poulter is a good blocker. But that's when she's healthy. And I think that's really the biggest giveaway that Poulter's not 100% is that they're not trusting her out to keep running the offense and stay out there as a blocker. If they think she's that much more of a liability at blocking than she usually is, that you have to run a 6-2 sometimes, then that is a big indicator for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Carlini's still a fantastic setter. Like, let's be honest, there was a while where people thought that she was going to be the next setter for Team USA. And I'm sure in her head, given the fact that she was cut from the Olympic team and it still came back for more and is still pushing, she thinks in her head, she still thinks that she is. So why not give her the ball? She has that confidence. She has the abilities. Let's just see what she does with it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, if she's the healthier of the two players, I think it's a no-brainer. You should probably put her out there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. While we're talking about the United States, I think we should talk about the Turkey match a little bit because we just saw it. We're about to see it again in the quarterfinals. United States wins 3-1, 25-22, 21-25, 25-20, 25-22. So all pretty competitive sets. But like I said, this was not a clean game of volleyball. The passing game on the United States side was not good. The attacking game on the Turkish side was not good. I mean, when you have a middle blocker in Zara Güneş leading the entire match in scoring, it was 16 only in a 4-set match, doesn't say many great things about the rest of your offense, even though Karakurt was there tied with her. Same thing for the U.S. Chako Bogu, 15 points in the middle, 7 for 10 attacking, 6 blocks and 2 aces. I mean, that is an amazing line. But you should have, in 4 sets, you would really want to have a couple other players who are more like taking more swings, fill up the stat sheet a little more, and we just didn't quite see that. But it was good enough for a win. We've got a lot of people in the chat talking about both these teams not being very impressed with how either of them look, and I kind of agree. I mean, at this point, if either of these two teams plays like this, whichever one of them wins in the quarterfinals is just going to get stomped by Serbia in the semifinal round.
Yeah, I mean, Karakurt has been one of the most up and down players in this tournament. And in this one, there's no difference. Like 14 kills, 11 errors, 14 continues on 39 swings, right? That's not a great stat line. That needs to be better. That's why Zara Güneş, who's once again a middle, is leading your team in scoring. Like it's just, and it's kind of the same thing on both sides where they're struggling on the outside. A little bit more fire on the Turkey side of things with Karakurt, but a little bit more consistent on the USA side of things, depending, no matter who you have, whether it's Annie Drews or Danielle Coutinho. Their best players and their most consistent players are just down
middles.
the middle. So yeah, I think that's like, to be honest, I just don't see the quality that I need from Baladin or Sahin on the left side for Turkey. And Karakurt's mood has just been so up and down throughout this entire tournament. Like, there's been so many times where the ball is just so far out. She's screaming for a touch, and Guidetti is just sitting there kind of rolling his eyes and just like telling her to get back to it. Like, she's just all over the place emotionally. Like, I always forget that she's only 22. Right. It's just because she's been around in the game so long. But yeah, I don't see this being a breakout tournament for Turkey, and I don't see them pushing the USA in the quarterfinals at all.
Yeah, I like the USA in the rematch for sure, just because of the clean and consistent style of ball we can play against them. And I mean, even Guidetti, I think, said it afterwards. Like, this was a missed opportunity for us. I'm talking about this 4-set loss to the United States the other day, because he acknowledged that the USA didn't play very well, and their offense just was so bad they couldn't really take advantage of it, other than the middle, of course, because Güneş was awesome. I mean, what was her attacking percentage? 15 for 21 with 2 errors. That's like 60% efficiency. That's crazy. And
yeah.
But yeah, Karakurt, not good. I do want to shout out Chako Bogu even more, because she, of her 6 stuff blocks, which led all players, there were a couple absolute like highlight reel career enders. Her blocking handwork is so good. She's so far over the net. She takes up so much space, and it's just impossible to hit around, and she never gets tooled. She's an absolute textbook a perfect presentation for how you want to block the ball, what you want to do with your hands. There were some that went so far straight down they almost like hit the center line or on our own side after going on the Turkish side of the net. Her blocking game was awesome.
Is she the best middle in the world right now?
Ooh, wow, what a question. I think Zara Gunesh has got to claim it that. I'd like to see a little bit more of Ogbogu as attacking. I think Gunesh is the better attacker.
Okay, fair enough. Yes,
I think Anna Denesi has a claim in that discussion.
Anna Carolina as well.
Yeah, Anna Carolina is another incredible blocker. I mean,
but it's like there was 4.
Yeah, maybe it is, and they're gonna go at each other again, probably in the semifinals. Well, in this case, quarterfinals, like Bogu versus Gunesh again. Club teammates is awesome, and then probably Denesi versus Anna Carolina again in the semis. Like that, those are great middle matchups. If you're a middle, like me and Everett both used to be middles once upon a time, it's fun. It's fun for us to watch these girls.
These when you think about what the potential dream team could be at this tournament, it could pretty much be Bank.
Yeah,
you could have a Bogu, and Gunesh and Gabby and Agonu potentially all on the dream team for this tournament, and that's essentially Bank right there.
That's
like if Bank doesn't go and just win everything this year, I'd be very surprised.
That's quite the different conversation. I think we've talked about the United States. We talked about Turkey a bit because they're going to see each other again. I want to talk about Serbia. Serbia just looks ridiculous. I think they've dropped like 2 sets the entire tournament. Let me double check that.
I think it's only 2 sets to Bulgaria when they went to Bulgaria.
Yeah,
like 5 with Bulgaria in round 1. Other
it.
than that, they've been perfect. And I mean, let's be honest, Serbia's on a warpath here. There's one thing that they want, and they want to repeat as world champions. And I think they're looking really, really good to do that. Statistically they've been the best team, but also the eye test, they've been the best team throughout this entire tournament.
Hey, you want to know Tiana Boscovich's tournament efficiency?
Yeah, what is it?
For the tournament. 452.
Oh my God.
This woman is hitting 452 on the tournament.
Her efficiency is better than most, like pretty much everyone else is hitting.
Kill percentage. Nobody kills 45% of the balls in the women's game. Boscovich is killing 55% of the balls. With only 24 errors in 9 matches. That is completely insane. And I mean, I've talked about it on the show before. I thought that the way the United States played against her in the Olympics last year should have kind of given the rest of the world a template on how to block and defend against Tiana Boscovich. She has said, screw that. Like, I don't care what you're doing against me. She is feasting this tournament. A very strong MVP candidate.
Absolutely, but I do think that there's such a not having Boscovich at VNL this year and having that team make that VNL run is what's making the difference, because you don't just have Boscovich anymore who's that player, because if you go back to last year, they shut down Boscovich and that was kind of it. No one else was standing up, but you have Busa, you have Mihailovic, and sure, they're not putting up fantastic numbers like Boscovich, but Busa is still out there. Like, she scored 26 in that 5-setter against Bulgaria, and then since then, like they haven't really been pushed. Like, even in the game against USA, they haven't really been pushed yet. So yeah, they just got so much quality everywhere, and the fact that they're doing this without Maya Ojenovic as well is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats from Serbia's 3-0 win over Poland, because we're going to see that matchup again in the quarterfinals. And it was like Boscovich with 14 didn't even have to do that much. It was actually the Serbian middles who really lit up the stat sheet in this one. I've kind of seen that the whole tournament. I think Jovana Stevanovic is having a great tournament. I think Maya Aleksic is kind of putting herself on the map this tournament. The blocking numbers are good. The attacking numbers are good enough. And it's just another kind of factor of that Serbian offense that, like last year in the Olympics, for example, you didn't even have to block against their middles. You didn't even have to bother. If they were 2, 3, 4 feet off the net, you could sell 2, maybe even 3 blockers to Boscovich and do what you could. Now there's so much more spacing, and then that a little bit more of an outside hitter threat that you have to worry about. That is a lot of the reason why Boscovich is having such ridiculous numbers so far.
I don't think that there's a team at the tournament right now who feels as good about themselves as Serbia.
Oh, and
Right?
as well they should.
They're
Yeah.
just running. And if you looking like other than Boscovich, maybe even Boscovich, no, like Boscovich didn't play against Kazakhstan in the first round. Like if you look down their lineup, they've sat all of their best players. They've sat at some point, right? And like they're players like they've gone deep into their bench. Which means that they're just a little bit fresher and a little bit more ready to go into the next round. I think it's going to take a lot to beat them. Like I really truly think it's gonna take a lot to beat this Serbian team.
Yeah, Santarelli is doing a really good job managing the roster. And I mean, marathon, not a sprint. We've said it a bunch. He's gotten the girls a little bit of rest here and there. Not everyone's had to play all 9 matches, but even when they have, every match is a 3-0 anyway. So nobody's getting that tired out there. Yeah, Serbia looks amazing. I see them going to the finals for sure. Although I think that the United States can beat Turkey in the quarters, I don't see us beating Serbia in the semis. I do want to talk about Poland though, because I'm just happen to be looking at this stat sheet of Serbia 3-0 Poland, and we've talked about Magdalena Stysiak having a great tournament. This match not quite so good. 12 for 32 with 10 errors, and a lot of where she's really made her money this tournament is in the blocking game. I wonder if she's the leading blocker in the tournament. Let's look. Fifth. Wow, fifth with actually tied for fourth with 31 stuff blocks with her teammate Agnieszka Kornoluk in the middle, and is the only non-middle blocker in the top 5. Actually, the only non-middle blocker in the top 15. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yes, Stysiak's having a great blocking tournament, so that's helped her a lot. But I mean, kind of like we predicted going in, Everett, with as long as this tournament is and as prominent as Stysiak is for the Polish offense, like they just have to give her like a, I don't know, a Karakurt or an almost even an Agonu level of balls on offense. She seems to be running out of gas. I was a little concerned about her endurance in a tournament like this, and I think it's starting to show up at the wrong time for Poland.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you saw that peak against the USA, and then the next day they went to 5 with Canada. The next day they go to 5 with Germany, and both of those 5 setters, you can argue that they maybe necessarily shouldn't have happened. I mean, we'll talk about the Canada and Poland one in after this, but yeah, she looked really, really good early on, and I do think that she's starting to slow down a little bit, and I just don't know if they have enough tank in the gas to get past Serbia in the first round. Like, to be honest, I don't.
They don't.
I don't think that they do. They just don't have the complete team. Stysiak is not. Boscovich. Everywhere they match up, except for maybe Kornoluk, like they
and
do
the
well.
setter.
Yeah.
I mean, Poland's outside hitter
True,
position
yeah.
hasn't been all that good this tournament. I mean, they got a couple characters rotating in there. I think that Rozhansky has been pretty good.
Rozhansky is. I thought that Rozhansky or Rozhanska has been very solid throughout the entire tournament. She has been very good. But yeah, this
Goretzka is another one. But it's kind of like Serbia. They're built that same way, but Serbia's opposite is better. I think Serbia's middles are a little more complete. And while Poland has the better setter, I mean, Boscovich is just so much better than everyone else in that matchup that I don't see him being touched. Like I could see it being another 3-0.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they do have the home crowd at their advantage, right? Like I do see them getting a bit of a pushback, especially since that you have a little bit of time off. They had today off. They'll have tomorrow off before the semifinals on Tuesday. So I do think that there's going to be a bit more pep in Stysiak's step. So I could see Poland taking a set, and I do expect them to take a set once again, especially at home. And lately, the crowds have been phenomenal in Lodz. But yeah, ultimately, this game is Serbia's to lose.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about Canada. I think it's time to spend a long time on this Canadian women's team. Amazing tournament. Amazing tournament.
Best
we can
tournament
talk about,
ever
by far.
For us, and like statistically, in terms of the World Championships, our best result was an 11th, and that goes back a long time. So it was finally the tournament where we learned how to compete with the best teams in the world. Like maybe not necessarily be ready to beat the tops, but even when you go back to the Serbia and USA matches, which were our first matches of the tournament, Rob, you and I spoke after them, and I was like, you know what, I'm not mad at those. We didn't lose a set, but I felt that we held our own and we stuck with it. And I mean, we went up against and we were so close to going 3-1. And in that match against Poland, I said to I brought my laptop to work as I was opening up the bar, and my cook is actually a bit of a volleyball fan, so we were watching it together as we were getting ready to open. And when they lost the fourth set, I said, like, we don't have this now. Like, if we had been able to win that fourth set and win it in 4, which I do think was on the table, then like we would have won that match, right? Obviously, we would have won the match.
The net violation on the follow through on the overpass swing to lose the fourth set, that was a killer.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, when you look at what this team did throughout this tournament, it was, I think, incredible. I mean, an overall record of 5 and 4. The only teams we lost to are all teams in the quarterfinals. We took care of business against teams ranked higher than us. That the last win against the Dominican Republic made us jump Thailand in the standings, and now we're ranked 14th in the standings. And it was truly better than I could have expected from this team. And it's honestly the best I've ever seen the women's national team play. It's the most proud I've ever been of the women's national team. And I look at this roster, and this is a roster that's going to be around for a long time. You know, barring Jen Cross, who has been the heart and soul of this program for a long time now, has been around since she was a teenager before she went and played was an All-American at Michigan. This is a very young team. I mean, Kira Van Ryk is only 22 years old. Alexa Gray is a little bit older at 28, but she's still got some life in her, and there's some really, really good stuff coming through the program. So ultimately, just so happy about the way that this team played. I mean, even if you go back to that Turkey match, we held the lead in each one of those sets. We had set point in the third. Like, there was so many obvious moments where there's room for growth when you watch this team. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, Kira Van Ryk finished 4th in scoring. She truly established herself as one of the premier opposite hitters in this tournament and in the world. Errors are still a bit of an issue. I mean, she had 14 errors in the match against Poland, only 18 kills. It was like 26 continues or something like that. Like, if she can change that number down to like half of those, maybe like 7, 8, or 9, you know, that's the 5-point difference that we lost and we win. But yeah, this team was fantastic all the way through. Emily Maglio was amazing down the middle. I felt Ariel Palermo stepped up huge. Hillary Howe did some fantastic stuff on the left side, and then ultimately, like, Bree King, the fact that she's going to set for Bernardinho this year in Brazil, who's arguably one of the best coaches of all time and is one of the best setter coaches of all time, is making my mouth water so much. Because, you know, I think it was either last show or the show before that, you asked me, is she one of the best setters in the world? And I think that if there's like a most improved player award for or like I think if there's a most improved team award, it goes to us in this tournament,
without question. Yeah,
without a doubt. It was amazing to watch, and couldn't be happier for Coach Shannon Windsor. And I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, when she was hired on, I was just kind of like, oh crap, like, you know, Tom Black is gone, and we're just kind of hiring someone who's within the system. And I am so happy I'm wrong, because watching her in every single time out, she's engaged, she's giving good information, she's like emotionally connected to the team. She had some of the best, like one of the best records for challenge calls. Like, I was so confident in her and the rest of the team making the challenge call every single time. And I couldn't be more excited about where this team is going. And for the first time in my history and within Canadian volleyball, we have a women's team that's better than the men's team right now.
Crazy.
And
that's absolutely the case. I mean, they were terrific. You have 2 world-class wings in Van Ryk and Gray. They both had great tournaments. You have a rising superstar setter in Bree King. Then there's so much youth and just so much learning that was done at this tournament. I mean, you can look at a couple points here or there, and if they go the other way, Canada's playing in the quarterfinals. Like, it really was that close. But even though it was extremely, extremely close, you could interpret that as disappointing. I'm totally with you. If I were a Canadian fan, I would be thrilled, and I have all the respect in the world for Shannon Windsor and the job she and that program have done. Very, very impressive.
Big shout out to Shannon Windsor to be the only female head coach at the Women's World Championship as well. She's out there and she's doing it and she's making it happen. And also don't forget too that the MVP of the NCAA tournament last year in the NCAA finals was Anna Schmreck from
18-year-old
Wisconsin.
Canadian.
Exactly,
Yeah,
from
she's
Wisconsin, who's an 18-year-old 6'5" Canadian. So we've got some bullets in the pipeline, and I could not be more excited and happy for Canadian women's volleyball right now.
well said. I think that's a great way to wrap it up for Canada. Yeah, they go home. I wonder what their final finish is. Let's see what it is officially. Probably maybe it might be 9th, 10th. Belgium 9th, Canada 10th. Yep. Amazing. I mean that's a top 10 in the world at this tournament. It's amazing.
And then finally I do think one last thing to wrap it up, that win against Dominican to finish the tournament, I think is way more meaningful than a lot of people know. We got to stop Dominican from moving on, but Dominican has been a top 10 team, a premier team in the world now for a decade. They've been, either first or second place at the NORCECA championships for a number of years now. They've caused a world of trouble for the USA. And I mean, they look good at this tournament, but I think that win over Dominican, we've beat them at a few little tournaments here and there, but never in a meaningful match. This was a statement game for Team Canada with that win, and there's now 3 teams in NORCECA, and Dominican better be bringing their A game, because I know we will be.
Yeah, I said it on last week's show. That match, Canada versus the Dominican Republic, was an opportunity to pass the torch, with Dominican kind of on their past the top of the hill in terms of them being an elite international team, and Canada clearly on the climb on the way up towards that peak. And I think that there was a little handoff going on there with that win.
I don't know if it's a handoff as we wrestled that torch away from them, but ultimately it's the same result at the end of the day.
Yes, it was. I mean, we talked about Dominican Republic and Thailand both a little bit already. I think that even though they both couldn't be more different stylistically, what kind of happened to them this week was similar in that I think they both kind of ran out of gas. I think they're really, really good teams understood the matchups against them, the physical high ball style of Dominican Republic and the lightning fast, precise offense of Thailand. When you're better and then there's more film on a team from the very same tournament and you're able to prepare for that distinct matchup more, you can be more ready for it. That combined with those teams just kind of running out of gas a little bit, I think explains a little bit about Dominican Republic and Thailand's weeks. But I mean, Thailand, you've got to say that's disappointing to go 0-4 this week after starting off 4-1. They put themselves in a great spot.
Yeah, there's no other way to say it. They start the tournament 4-1 against, statistically higher ranked teams, and then they end up losing to teams like Canada and Germany, losing to Serbia and USA. That's going to happen. But they needed to get the job again done against Canada and Germany. But I said the matchup doesn't work against Germany is very systematic as they would be. Canada's very gritty as we would be, and it just doesn't work out well against Thailand.
Yep, and then Germany, last but not least. I mean, they came out, I think, 2-3 from pools. I don't think they were ever going to really make it out at that record in this difficult of a group. But 3-6 for Vital Heinen and company, and the upset win. I mean, they almost took Poland there at the end, but they had the upset win over Thailand that kind of shook up the pool. Good for Germany. I don't really have anything more to say about them.
No, I mean they did all right. They got a win in round 2. They weren't as useless as Puerto Rico and Argentina.
Boy, were useless.
They just don't have Littman, Orthman. They just don't have that quality of player yet to play up at that level. They're still looking for that athlete to really push them into the next level.
Yeah, hopefully they get there. All right. Anything else about Group F before we look at the bracket one more time?
No, I think ultimately it was a much more exciting group.
Yeah. A lot of 5-setters.
A lot of 5-setters. Good battle. Once again, just super stoked by the way that we held our own and thrived in this group. And excited for the next round. Excited for the quarters.
Yeah. A lot to feel great about if you are a Canadian fan, but their tournament is over. A lot to not feel so great about if you're an American fan, but fortunately our tournament is still going. We'll see how far it goes.
Oh,
exactly.
Real quick update in the chat. I was wrong. Schmreck isn't 6'5". She's 6'9".
That's what I thought. I thought she was an absolute monster.
She is an absolute monster. I could go all day about this girl. I've been watching her since she was 14 years old. Never seen a 14-year-old who's that tall and move like a libero. That's all I'm going to say.
Sheesh. All right, so here's the bracket once again. We've got 8 teams left. We'll talk about the schedule in just a minute because it sucks. one more time, Italy versus China. We talked about the match they just played this week in pools where Italy won 3-0. Brazil versus Japan. Japan actually beat Brazil 3-1 in the first round of pools. Serbia versus Poland. We talked about Serbia sweeping Poland this week. And United States versus Turkey. We talked about United States beating them in 4. And speaking of the schedule, here it is for the quarterfinals. All of these matches going down on Tuesday. So
dumb.
So dumb. God, it's
so dumb.
The worst. So today, today's October 9th, Sunday. Tuesday, October 11th, we're getting all 4 quarterfinals. And not only are we getting all 4 quarterfinals, we're getting them at the same time. We're getting them at the same time. What are we doing? Why are we scheduling the 4 biggest matches of the tournament on top of one another? Italy versus China, 11 a.m. Eastern. United States versus Turkey, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Why are we doing that? And then the second block of matches is the same thing. Brazil versus Japan, 2 p.m. Eastern. Serbia versus Poland, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. What are you doing to the fans that actually want to watch all 4 of these matches? It's just terrible.
It is terrible. Once again, 3 boomers in a trench coat, especially that the semifinal round is being played on 2 different days. No, guys, let's figure it out. Why are we playing 2 matches on 2 days and 4 matches in 1 day? The arithmetic doesn't work. Get out of your trench coat and figure it out. Like,
not to mention the travel. Like, the Poland and the Netherlands are not that far away from one another, but keeping them so segmented into their 2 separate locations, such that we're seeing nothing but rematches in this bracket, is insane. So I have so many complaints about this. I mean, the matches are what they are, but it's the worst that the fans aren't going to get to really focus on each of these 4 games. They're going to have to pick 2 of them that they actually want to watch. It sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be honest too, that Volleyball World TV sucks for trying to watch multiple games at once, because you can't, right? You have to do the side-by-side stuff, yeah. And then your screen goes from full screen to like little screens. It's like I might as well be watching on my phone, but like I have a subscription and I can't even watch it on multiple screens at once. Like how much am I paying for this? And I can't watch one on my laptop, another one like streaming it onto my TV. Like that's what I want to be able to do. Like that's what I would do in this situation, right? One on the laptop, one on the TV. Let's go, right? I can't even have 2 players open, like 2 Volleyball World TV players open on the same computer. Like I've got an iMac, I've got a big screen. I could I can't even do that. Like why are we using like bootleg software to be able to do this? Like just spend a little bit of money, guys. Like it's not hard to make an app.
Figure it out. But more importantly, don't stack quarterfinal matches of a world championship tournament on top of one another. Just don't do that. There's no benefit. There's literally no benefit. I don't care if they're in 2 different places. Stagger them. It would be very easy to just stagger them, and they just couldn't figure that out. So that's really upsetting. But again, the matchups are Italy versus China. So the times you have on the screen right now are North American Central Time, just because that's where I am. It's where my computer is. So the times are local for me. Add an hour onto these if you're on the East Coast, or subtract 2 hours if you're on the West Coast. If you're elsewhere in the world, you're on your own. You can go to this website too. But yeah, Italy versus China, United States versus Turkey starts off the day in that first kind of block of matches. And well, hopefully Italy versus China is a 3-0, so we can focus on the USA match a little bit. And then Brazil versus Japan and Serbia versus Poland are kind of in that second block of matches. Then semifinals, we'll have the Poland semifinal right away on Wednesday. So that's the winner of the U.S. and Turkey versus the winner of Serbia and Poland on Wednesday. The Netherlands semifinal gets a day off. So the winner of Italy and China versus the winner of Brazil and Japan will be on Thursday, the 13th. And then there's a travel day, no matches Friday, both medal matches, both in the Netherlands on Saturday, October 15th, Saturday. And their bronze medal match is at 10 a.m. Eastern, gold medal match at 2 p.m. Eastern Saturday. So that is the schedule. Go to the Volleyball World website for the tournament to find it in your time zone.
Great. I'm stoked for it, except for this terrible schedule.
Schedule sucks.
Schedule's terrible.
Just really, really a missed opportunity. But I know that the matches will be good. I'm fascinated to see because, like we said, Everett, the rematches, it's difficult to beat a team twice in the same tournament. So I think the last thing kind of to do on the show is we got to pick the rest of this thing, because the next show we're going to do on this is a week from today. The trophy will be handed out on Saturday. We're going to do a show next Sunday. So we've got to make our picks for the rest of this bracket. Everett, I will allow you to go first, my friend. Who you got for the rest of this thing?
Italy and China are going to be, or sorry, Italy, Brazil are going to play in the semifinals. Italy's going to win that. Serbia, USA are going to be playing in the semifinals, and Serbia is going to win that. And I think Italy's going to win.
Okay, so you've got Italy beating Serbia in the final, and Italy winning both the men's and women's world championship. Boy, would that be a scary sight for the rest of us. How about bronze?
Mostly for those of us in the Discord who will have to put up with Monty and Tommy just being absolutely insufferable for the next little bit.
Whole lot of this emoji if that ends up happening. How about bronze? I guess that would be USA versus Brazil at that point.
Ooh, I'm going Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
sorry.
No medal for my girls. Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I just don't see. I haven't seen that team get better since VNL. If anything, they might have taken a step.
That's well said. I think a lot of the other teams in this tournament have gotten better since VNL, except maybe Italy because they won the thing. But even Serbia, who took bronze, they've gotten better. I think Brazil, who took silver, got better.
To that roster obviously. That took bronze, right?
Yeah,
so
maybe everyone's gotten better. Even like Poland's gotten better. Man, yeah.
Everyone looks better except for the USA in my eyes, and it's both from the eye test and statistically. Someone needs to step up from that team, and I don't see it happening this tournament.
Okay, so you've got Italy beating Serbia in the final and Brazil for bronze. I've got the exact same semifinals as you. I think it's going to be chalk. I think it's going to be the semifinals that we predicted from day one. Italy, Brazil on the top there, and then Serbia, United States on the bottom. I've got the exact same finals as you. I've got Italy beating Brazil, and I've got Serbia beating the United States, unfortunately. But I've got Serbia winning the tournament.
Okay.
I've got Serbia winning the tournament. I've got Tiana, Boscovich and company winning the tournament. Another interesting storyline is Daniele Santarelli versus his wife, Monica De Gennaro, who plays libero for Italy. That they usually play together when Santarelli coaches Conegliano, but not this time. That's kind of fun.
I wonder what kind of bets are going on.
Oof.
Like, does the loser have to do dishes?
What an interesting thing in their household. Yeah. I think Serbia repeats, man. I think Tiana Boscovich is on another level right now.
I cannot wait for that potential showdown of Paolo Gonu versus Tiana Boscovich, especially because it's kind of bringing into an era of Boscovich versus Agonu, as you know, Boscovich has been the center of Ekzacıbaşı for so many years now in Turkey, and now Agonu is joining Vakıfbank, so they're going to be playing each other in the Turkish League, in the Turkish Cup, potentially Champions League as well. So this is going to kind of open up the door for at least a year of some Boscovich versus Agonu showdowns.
Yeah, get used to seeing those two players play against each other a lot. Last thing before we wrap up is something that somebody brought up in the chat earlier that I think it's important to look at, and that's the latest FIVB Women's World Ranking. You will see a lot of movement. There's been a lot of movement, including the United States falling from 1 all the way down to 4. And Italy, the new number 1 team in the world on the women's side, I mean, they've only lost 1 match, and it was a 5-setter against Brazil. So you can kind of see the point spread right here, where, I mean, everything's green. They're just gaining points everywhere, losing 5.9 in a 5-set loss is a lot. But they're climbing. Brazil is second in the world right now. Serbia third. All that green, undefeated in the tournament. But look at this for the USA. I want to point this out because I think this is ridiculous. We get swept by Poland and lose 19 points. We get swept by Serbia, who's honestly likely to win this entire tournament, and lose 15 points. Meanwhile, we beat Turkey, who's good, and only get 6. We beat Dominican Republic, who's good, only get 2.5. We beat Germany. We sweep Germany, only get 3.2. I mean, what are you supposed to do if you're a high-ranked team other than win? I mean, if you win, you don't get any points. If you lose once, you drop 4 spots in the rankings. It's crazy.
It is nuts. And I'm even looking at like Argentina. So Argentina lost 4 ranks over the course of this 4th round. So they drop behind teams like the Czech Republic, who didn't make it into round 2, Colombia, who didn't make it into round 2, Mexico, who's not in the tournament, and France, who's not in the tournament, right? Argentina is out here going up against some of the best teams in the world. And yes, they lost, 3-1 to Puerto Rico. That's where they lost most of their points. But still, like, we can't have a scenario where there's a team that's playing in tournaments that other teams aren't. and they're dropping below teams that aren't even playing.
Right. And they're getting punished for going further in the tournament. I mean, if
they're getting punished just for playing.
If they cared about their world ranking,
even in there,
right? They would have thrown the game against Colombia or somebody in pools, like I'm talking about Argentina, so that they wouldn't have even had to play these last 4 games. I mean, boom, minus 3.5, 6.5, 1.5, and almost 8 points. I mean, you shouldn't lose to Puerto Rico, but I mean, because they made it further into the tournament, they're getting penalized in the world ranking. And I don't think that's fair. There's got to be some system in the math to include both every match matters and tournament finish matters instead of just one or the other like we've pivoted here recently. It's nuts.
100%. Like if you're participating in the World Championships, you need to get a certain amount of points associated with that. If you're participating in VNL, you need to get a certain amount of points of that. Right. This is why we have
Canada. Canada for finishing 10th in this tournament should get rewarded for that. They absolutely should finish. Absolutely should get rewarded for that. Colombia for not making it out of the pools, and for I think they went winless if I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, they did. They should be penalized a lot more. They absolutely
100%.
should.
But not even penalized, just not given that many points. Like a team that qualifies for the tournament should get more points for a team that doesn't, right? Like I'm looking at France and Mexico, who aren't even at this tournament right now, and that they're sitting on top of Argentina, on top of Korea. Well, they can screw Korea; they suck anyways. Like Croatia,
Croatia too. Check this out: huge drop in the rankings, all the way down to 27th.
Yeah, massive drop for Croatia. So yeah, I do think, like, I don't understand why they just didn't take the original point totals. Like, you get 500 points for winning Olympic Games, 500 points for winning the World Championships, and just keep those point totals, and then add the match per match onto it.
There's a way to do both. There's
a way to do it, and it's. But once again, 3 boomers, trench coat. It's hard to see looking through the little holes between the buttons and stuff like that. They need to keep things simple.
That's never been the easiest thing for that organization. Well, boys and girls, it's championship week, so enjoy bracket play at Women's Worlds. Tuesday are the quarterfinals. Check out the Volleyball World Tournament website for the schedule. We'll be back on Sunday after the medal matches on Saturday. And then also a programming note, I've been doing a lot of just podcasts here on YouTube lately, previewing the club season. Yeah, they've been awesome. We did a great one with the great Tommy Blizzard for the Italian Super League, which has produced some banger weekends so far. Did a great one with Adanos previewing the Plus Liga. And then I did the best one, my personal favorite, with the legendary Eric Shoji talking about Champions League last week. So a lot going on in the men's club game. And for your viewing pleasure, we will be back on Tuesday this week with a regular 9x9 at regular time to kind of catch up with the club season. So that'll be
it was a nuts weekend in the Italian Super League this week. The Bundesliga jumped off. The Plus Liga has been going for a little bit. We're right into pro season, and you get multiple doses of the 9x9 this week.
Yes, you do. So we'll be back. If you're just interested in Women's World Championships, great. Watch the tournament this week. We'll be back on Sunday. But if you watch everything that we put out, which we certainly encourage you to do, I'll be back on Tuesday evening to kind of catch back up with what's started in the men's club season. And then, then I think it really should be just every Tuesday after that, much back to a much more normal schedule for us after World Championships are done.
Yep, pretty much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Make sure you join the Volleyball Source Discord. That link is in the description. It's where all of us are just spitting all these crazy takes day in and day out during the matches. And so get in there, ask some questions, get involved, and we'll see you on Tuesday night for regular 9x9 talking about men's club, and Sunday night to wrap up the Women's World Championship.
Peace, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you Tuesday, and we'll see you Sunday, and we'll see you every day on the Discord.
You got it.